Hello everyone and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is a continuation of the Planet of the Apes trilogy that came out in the 2010s, being Rise, Dawn, and War for the Planet of the Apes. And that itself was a reboot of the classic Planet of the Apes movies that started in 1968. This film is directed by Wes Ball and is written by Josh Friedman. And there are a lot of things in the movie that aren't revealed in the marketing and the trailers, so anything that I talk about regarding the story will only be things that have been revealed in marketing, trailers, press releases, or something that you can find publicly. Anyone who's familiar with this franchise knows that the most recent trilogy that came out is just amazing. And so there were a lot of questions as to, once Disney acquired Fox and started utilizing these properties, would they be able to kind of pull off another entry in that universe, and would it just be a reboot, or would it be kind of a continuation of that trilogy that we had? This is a continuation of that trilogy. It does take place within that saga, that world. However, it takes place many years after. So it's all new characters and all new parts of this world established by that trilogy, which for me is one of the biggest positives of the movie. It really freed itself up creatively and allowed it to kind of dive into this new type of story while also expanding on that world that was set up in that trilogy from a few years ago. Speaking of the positives, let's just dive right into the rest of the review. This part is not going to come as a shock to anyone. The VFX are stunning. They're amazing. And the thing that sucks about the Apes movies, especially the recent trilogy, none of the trilogy from the 2010s had ever won the best Oscar for visual effects, when each one could have won it. But they each came out with a movie the year they came out that also had incredible visual effects. And this year has Dune Part 2. So it's like, damn, they might even lose it again. But there are some sequences in here, visual effects-wise, that are breathtaking. But good VFX are meaningless without great story, great character, a great movie. And fortunately, this is a great fucking movie. I have no idea why the studio is kind of holding the embargo till the day before. It's very odd. One of the things that makes it great is the motion capture performances, mostly by Owen Teague and Kevin Durand, who plays the kind of king villain in this film. He does a great job. However, the standout was Peter Macon as Raka. Oh my god, complete standout of the movie was Raka. But more than that, the story and the character arcs and the themes and ideas that it brings to the table is what really makes this film stand out. Because since this movie takes place so long after, Caesar and that trilogy from the 2010s, there are things that are referenced. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to play it light. But there are things that are referenced of that time and how different clans and tribes of apes believe and interpret Caesar's reign differently. And it almost had an interesting parallel to a lot of, religious doctrine and, just stories that are passed down from generation to generation and how they change and how they're interpreted differently. And there's an amazing line in the movie where one of the villainous tribes kind of chants for Caesar, and another ape just says it's a shame that they use his name that way. And that's something that you see all the time. So that type of theme is kind of parallels a lot of what we see today, and it was very interesting to see in the movie. Freya Allen plays the human character in this movie, and she also does a great job, gives a great performance, and her dynamic with the apes that she's with is really interesting, and their story together, and their kind of, do they trust each other, do they not trust each other, back and forth through the movie really worked. There's also a revenge aspect to the story, which I'm just a sucker for regardless. The action sequences are also incredibly well done. Wes Ball did an amazing job directing and handling these big set pieces. And while there are so many visual effects in the movie, none of it felt overproduced. A lot of the film, you can tell, is shot on location with the motion capture. So when you have real backgrounds next to completely digital, it's motion capture, the actors were there, but the actual creation itself is digital. When you have it next to real backgrounds, it has to look good and it has to feel like it's really happening, or else it's going to completely take you out of the movie. And it completely fits, both from a visual standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint, everything worked. And while this film is a different kind of film from the trilogy from the 2010s, it very much belongs to stand right alongside it as a great film, as a part of a great rebooted franchise. There's also an A-list actor who shows up that I had no idea was in the movie, and they are being marketed, but I still don't want to say them in case you didn't know, but that was a fun surprise, and they did a really good job. The theme that I mentioned earlier regarding the passing down of stories over time, generationally, and how it kind of is a reflection of a lot of religious groups today, how that is tied to the emotional arc of the main character was just good fucking stuff. The movie clearly sets out what the character wants versus what the character needs, and takes you on a path of showing how that a character achieves both. And from a screenplay perspective, that was very satisfying, and it really helped drive the story home. And not only does that work on its own, meaning if you haven't seen the trilogy from the 2010s, you won't be lost. Like, it catches you up on what's going on, but if you have, it's that much deeper and richer because it beautifully expands on the world that those films created. My only really gripes and negatives with the movie is it is 2.5 hours long. And while I wasn't bored at any point in the movie, and I particularly don't know what to cut, and I hate commenting on a movie's length if I don't know what to fix about it, you do feel the length towards the kind of second to third act break, but the third act is awesome as hell, so it quickly kind of gets itself back. But the biggest gripe, though, is while the screenplay is great, towards the end, when it comes to the actual climax of the movie and how they're going to resolve the big problem in the movie, there's just a couple things that seem a little bit too convenient for what's going on. And something is revealed later on that helps it make a little bit more sense, but while it's happening, they take something that seems impossible to, really the superior intelligent being in this world, which is the apes. They figure out a way to kind of sneak past it. And while it wasn't easy for the characters in the film, like it didn't feel easy for them, it also didn't feel like there were stakes of failing because of how a matter of fact they were able to kind of get through it. But the rest of the movie was so good up to that point, I just kind of, as an audience member, was like, I'm going to let this go, I'm going to see where it goes. And luckily, it went to a place that was awesome as hell. I'm going to cut it some slack just because they needed something to kind of finish out the movie, but it was noticeable while watching it that it's just like, oh, well, if they can do that, then how can, whatever. It's kind of just one of those things we have to say, whatever, because the rest of the movie is just so great. But yeah, guys, I'm happy to report that I thoroughly loved Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We're only in May, but it's definitely in the top 5 of my favorite movies of the year so far, which of course is subject to change every day. But when you guys see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, what did you think about it? I'd love to see your thoughts and comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review.